we're here. We've got the honour of an interview with the master of Hong Kong cinema, Mr. Johnnie To, who's here with the Hong Kong Fresh Wave and also Romancing in Thin Air, which screened last night at the Udine Far East Film Festival. So my first question to you, Mr. To, is about the Fresh Wave. And I'm just wondering what kind of your hopes for the submissions for the films. What were you hoping to get from the films that were submitted for the Fresh Wave? What were you looking for?
其實我主要係話希望咧就係喺因為 Fresh Wave 已經係今年應該係第7年嘅，咁我好希望喺呢個時候咧就係話因為前邊嗰7年裏邊就要好多基本嘅工作係要去修正啊，或者去 follow 嘅。咁經過咗呢一段7年時間嗰個 set up 咧，其實應該就唔係好大問題。咁我就喺呢個時候就會覺得係應該俾啲小朋友多啲去知道電影嘅世界係點嘅。咁而歐洲咧就係對藝術啊，對電影咧都係一個非常之佢係可能嗰個係基礎啊，同埋個歷史啊，同埋啲人啊對電影嗰個尊重啊，係比亞洲區好嘅。咁我覺得帶佢哋嚟到呢度嘅，主要係等佢哋見到下世界上嘅唔同嘅人，即係世界上對另一個地方對電影個睇法係點樣嘅，亦都係希望藉住烏迪尼斯呢個影展呢，令到佢感受一下，即係佢哋嘅作品其實係會帶出啲乜嘢反應呢？咁今年裏邊，我希望除咗嚟烏迪尼斯之外，亦都可能會再帶多幾個小朋友去到法國巴黎。
Fresh Wave is actually in its 7th year, and I'd have to say that for the first 7 years we spent a lot of time setting the foundations, and we did a lot of basic setup work. So for this edition, I really hoped, my main hope was that everything would go a lot more smoothly, and that it would be easier for these students to come and participate in an international film festival, mainly because I would like them to see how European people have a different relationship with cinema. They respect cinema a lot more than people do in Asia, and of course they have a greater history in cinema rather in compared to Asia. My other hope, of course, was for them to gain some experience and to see the Udine public react to their movies, to their short films, the public reaction, basically. And I wanted them to have a wider experience of the film industry in general, or film festival circuit. In fact, after Udine, I hope to take perhaps a different group of the Fresh Wave directors to Paris and to gain more experience there.
Okay, so what would Mr. To think the biggest difference is between when he started as a filmmaker and what the young directors now, such as the Fresh Wave directors, are facing now? What's the biggest difference between when Mr. To started and the industry now in Hong Kong?
最大嘅分別就香港嘅其中一個啦。以前香港政府係英國政府嘅時候係唔會 help 唔會幫，而家嘅香港政府咧係佢哋會喺培養方面，同埋係真係攞錢出嚟俾你拍戲咧，係喺呢幾年開始做到嘅。咁而家嘅小朋友嘅分別好處咧就係 film school 多咗，大學有好多都有 film school，都有呢個電影學，政府有錢俾，行內即係好似我哋呢啲導演亦都願意幫佢哋進入個工業上邊嘅。咁我諗呢幾樣嘢 都係因為香港電影而家低潮，即係變咗可能因為低潮先至大家先至會咁出力去幫咯。
I would say the biggest difference is that when Hong Kong was under British rule, the government didn't really invest anything into cinema or into local cinema, into local talent. Now that it's no longer under British rule, the Hong Kong government is actually really giving proper funding and investing in these new talents. There are film schools, there are more opportunities, there are more courses at university, and even established artists like myself are much more willing to help and to mentor these new students. And perhaps I should also say that because I think Hong Kong is in a recession right now, people are more willing to help and to make that effort to help everyone.
I mean, to turn to Mr. To's films, one thing which, to word it slightly differently, does Mr. To get bored by the amount of questions about the mainland now, about censorship, about how he's going to negotiate that? Is that something which is being made, there's too much being made about it at the moment?
都係嘅，呢個有好多影展，但係你問嘅問題咧，都係多數都問你大陸啊、香港嘅情況啊，有咩轉變啊，即係咁樣。我諗呢個都係因為其實大家會睇到嗰個亞洲啦，唔係淨係講中國大陸啦，其實係個速度好快喺度變緊嘅。咁呢個會相對大家就會覺得就係好似係近呢個時候嘅一個話題。我記得10年前。10幾年前去影展都冇咁多人問呢啲問題。
Yes, you could say that. In fact, at every film festival that I go to, there are always questions about China, Hong Kong, the future, the differences between them. And I guess that must be because everybody now is realizing that, of course, Asia in general is developing very, very quickly. And because of that, I think that, yes, I remember that actually 10 years ago, this kind of question was never asked. So it's very much a sign of the times.
I mean, for me, a more interesting question, and I think more important than even that, is because of what you could call economics censorship in a way, that people want Chinese money, naturally, is that what happens then to Cantonese language cinema? Is, I mean, certainly Romancing in Thin Air, that mixture between Mandarin and even Don't Go Breaking My Heart, you've got that mixture. Is the Cantonese language cinema under threat because of,
呢個可能性我覺得消失就未必一定消失，因為佢始終係一個地方嘅語言嚟嘅。但係按照而家嘅情形咧，就係中央政府都會覺得盡量喺嗰個公眾啊，譬如好似廣播，即係 TV 上面咧，係少用啲粵語啊，即係廣東話。咁呢個我諗係可能亦都係有對廣東話嘅電影有影響，但係我亦都相信咧。冇可能嘅，因為呢個都係幾千年文化嚟嘅。我哋唔可以將自己嘅文化毀滅嘅，係嘛？上海人唔可以話唔講上海話，係嘛？或者去到四川咁，四川有自己四川話。呢個係歷史嚟㗎嘛。但係我相信佢唔想你廣泛咁樣去流傳，大家又多咗一個語言，有一個普通話。咪大家用到普通話咯，同埋可能佢呢個係 係管治嘅一種方法。
Yes, in fact, it's a very interesting question about Hong Kong cinema and the Cantonese language, because for me, I actually don't think there's a risk that Cantonese language films will disappear entirely.
Okay.
I don't think that's possible because, in fact, it's Cantonese is a language which belongs to the country of Hong Kong. However, it's also true to say that, of course, under the Chinese government now, in all public places or public media, such as the TV, Cantonese is being used less and less, and Mandarin is being used more and more. So this, of course, will have effect on cinema. In fact, in both movies. So it's this is also normal, but I think it's not possible that we will stop using Cantonese. It's like saying a person from Shanghai, they stop speaking Shanghainese, exactly, and the people in Sichuan, they have their own Sichuanese dialect, and they continue to speak that. So in fact, I prefer to see it as that we are not going to lose Cantonese, the language, but we're gaining Mandarin. We're gaining an extra dialect.
Okay, brilliant. I just wanted to ask a question about romancing in thin air, and particularly about what seems a reoccurring theme of the Milky Way image film, and we saw it again with Romancing in Thin Air. And I just wonder whether this comes from Mr. To or CUEAFS is starting with a film like Help, with a film within a film, and kind of mixing the layers, and we see it in Full-Time Killer and written by the CUEAFS film with the is that something that Mr. To is really interested in, is kind of layering his films in that kind of way. It doesn't matter what the genre is, but films within films and meta-narratives.
呢個都唔係話即係我哋好中意咁樣去講，而係去選擇一個咁樣嘅背景嘅時候，一個明星嘅背景嘅時候，你成日喺度講呢個係明星，但係你又唔係用到佢嘅背景，咁咪唔係好妥咯。咁我哋會覺得就你講古天樂係一個明星嚟，咁應該拍下戲嘅，即係都隨住嗰個角色嗰個需要而產生咗戲中戲咁樣，又唔係因為我哋好希望或者好刻意擺一啲電影裏邊一定要有一啲戲中戲嘅元素喺度。
Well, not particularly. It's more character driven than anything. We just felt that since Louis Koo plays a film star, it wouldn't be right to not show him actually working as a film star. So the motives behind that are simply it's character driven more than anything.
Okay. And my final question is something that Mr. To mentioned earlier on about the European respecting cinema more, and I just wondered, obviously Mr. To's kind of star has risen greatly because of film festivals showing, obviously the gangster films, and in particular I wonder whether that has had an effect on the films that he's been making, and particularly his more personal films like Life Without Principle, maybe, whether the interest of European critics writing about him and talking about him now as an auteur, whether has that affected or infected his films in some way?
有影響我自己喺嗰個電影上邊嘅，因為我好多時拍咗啲電影咧，香港嘅人都唔係完全好接受，有啲人甚至唔知我講咩，但反而喺呢度放映嘅時候，歐洲放映嘅時候，佢哋嘅反應會好清楚話俾我聽，佢哋明白，同埋好 enjoy 我嘅電影度。咁我唔知究竟係香港人蠢啲，定話係歐洲人聰明啲，定話係歐洲人睇電影嗰個闊度大，而香港人睇嘅嘢咧就比較窄。呢個係唔係一次嘅，好多次。我嘅電影喺歐洲嘅反應係好過喺香港。
It absolutely had an influence on my filmmaking. In fact, very often I've made films in Hong Kong, and the local public haven't appreciated it, or they haven't understood it. Whereas over the years, I've seen that the European public, they, based on their reaction to my films, like more personal films, I've noticed that they do get it and they do understand. And so yes, it has influenced me very much. And I don't know if this is because the Hong Kong public is less intelligent, or they have a narrower view, a narrower viewpoint. But yes, it's
There's a lot of stupid European people
as well.
isn't
Yes,
there?
I'm sure. Yes, of course. But yes, it happens quite often.
Okay. Is
yeah.
this why we got Vengeance? Is that a real kind of explicit film for a European audience?
因為佢係嗰個 investor 係唔想我改變，你照做翻個咁樣嘅電影出嚟。咁呢個係你當佢一部戲睇啦，同呢個 Excel 即係同一部電影咁。
Vengeance is actually basically exiled. It's the same film, because the investor basically said to me that he didn't want anything to be changed and wanted me to make the same movie. So when you're watching Vengeance, it's best to watch it with Exiled and consider it as one movie.
I see. Unfortunately, I think I can't ask any more questions. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.